I read this book by Richard Koch. You guys had Richard Koch about a year ago, I believe, at one of these seminars. Richard wrote a book called The 80-20 Principle, and I knew about 80-20. Lots of people know about 80-20, but I didn't understand that. I didn't really understand it. I thought it was just a handy business tip. Okay? And I do remember when I was when I was a sales manager at a company, I read about the 80-20 principle. It said that 80% of your sales comes from 20% of your customers, and 20% of your sales comes from the other 80%. And I printed out a sales report, and I got out my calculator. I'm like, I'll be darned. That's true. Wow. And then I didn't really think about it anymore. I didn't understand how to use it. I'm reading Richard's book, and I get to page 14. I'm like, oh my word, this is everywhere. Now, I'm going to explain to you why I had this epiphany, and I hope all of you have an epiphany, and I'm going to explain. There's some science behind this that's very profound. Now, first, let's do a little experiment. So, everybody, please stand up. Everybody in the room, stand up. Okay. If you own less than 5 pairs of shoes, sit down. If you have more than 5 pairs of shoes, stay standing. Okay? 10. If you own less than 10 pairs of shoes, sit down. Otherwise, stay standing. Okay? 20. If you own less than 20 pairs of shoes, sit down. Otherwise, stay standing. Okay? And look around. This is very instructive. Okay? And by the way, there's no shame. Just work with me here. 40. If you own less than 40 shoes, sit down. More than 40 shoes, stay standing. Okay? 80. If you own less than 80 pairs of shoes, if you own a lot of shoes, be proud. Stand up. Okay? 80. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? 160. Less than 160, sit down. Okay? 320. Is anybody 320? How many shoes do you think you probably have? 330? Did I get that right? 330? Okay. Give this lady a hand. Give this lady a hand. This is fun, right? Would you believe me if I told you that 20% of the people own 80% of the shoes? Yes? Okay, but here's the interesting part. The interesting part is 20% of the 20% own 80% of the 80%. You got that? So 20%, okay, 20% of 20% own 80% of 80%. So that means 4% of the people own 64% of the shoes. Does that make sense? But we can do it again. 20% of the 20% of the 20% own 80% of the 80% of the 80. So that means 1% of the people own 50% of the shoes. Stand up again. Domain names. If you own less than 10 domain names, sit down. Okay, good. A room full of marketers. We got lots of people that own domain names. Okay, 10. Okay, now, 20 domain names. 20 or less, sit down. 40. 80. 160. 320. Is anybody still, yeah, we got a few here. 320, 500. Did we lose you at 500? Is anybody else standing? How many domain names do you think? 380. Okay. So, would you believe me if I told you that 1% of the people own 50% of the domain names? 4% of the people own 64 of the domain names. Do you see that? Almost everything is like this. The world is way more unequal than you think.
Hi, this is Perry Marshall. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with your friends.